You got it, and you recovered from it, and you've got a good memory. So it was natural. Somebody sneezed all over you. You know, when I was a little kid, and before there was a measles, mumps, and rubella vaccine, when some kid in my block got chicken pox or measles or mumps, we all went down to play with Freddie. And couldn't quite figure that out. You know, Freddie's sick. Go down and play with Freddie. And we kind of all did. We all got mumps together, and we all got over it, and we died, that I remember. But it was kind of, let's get over this stuff. Let's be exposed now. And now what is it we have? Is this incredible paranoia of, gosh, somebody's sick, let's steer clear of them. And what have we done? We hear a lot of talk about this lately, is that what have we done with our children? We've protected them so much in those prime times when we wanted them to be exposed to all kinds of infectious agents to, in a sense, stimulate this immune response. Now they have a poor response to infection, and they get sicker than they should be. So trying to be the good mom or good dad oftentimes has a negative effect. If you're artificial, what does that mean? Okay, vaccine. So you've been immunized in one form or another, and what do we do with immunizations? We either give you a killed or a attenuated pathogen. Killed means that we've actually killed the cells, and hopefully the cells, what's left of them, is going to be enough to initiate a good response so that we have a memory and we respond to it. Or we attenuate the cells, which means they're alive, but they don't cause disease anymore. Or we can genetically manipulate maybe some proteins found in them. We call that an acellular type of a vaccine. Yeah.
With this new idea of like non-vaccination, isn't that for the people that are getting them, is that going to eliminate the purpose of getting it in the future for everyone who's, I agree with getting vaccinations. These people that are
I do too. I strongly.
I mean, they're going to obviously bring back all these. So is that going to like hurt
for instance, right now in Oregon and Washington State, there's a major outbreak of pertussis. Bordetella pertussis. It's whooping cough. And there are virtually thousands of cases, and a number of individuals have died, both children and adults. And what's attributed to the outbreak is no vaccination. So that even the adults somehow down the line were not vaccinated, or were vaccinated, and we're now kind of realizing that maybe we have to increase or decrease the time between boosters for Bordetella pertussis. That the DPT, DTaP, call it what you will, that's the P portion of that vaccine. But they're trying to manage that out there. It's a major problem right now. But the children weren't vaccinated for a couple of reasons. Sometimes it's religious reasons. Sometimes it's individuals, kind of free thinkers that are thinking this is all a government plot to increase the number of cases of this or that or so on and so on. And there's a lot of that thinking out there, loads of it. Or they didn't have the money for vaccine. Didn't understand that they had to get it. All kinds of reasons why those vaccinations were not given. But it's a problem and people are dying. So what's the balance out of that? How do we get on that? Anyway. Did you have a question?
No, well, kind of, but well, I was just wondering if, eventually all these people quit getting the vaccination. Those that are getting it, is it going to be even, if it gets to be outnumbered by those not getting it, was that
yeah, what surprised that outbreak, that major outbreak in Washington and Oregon that's going on still at this time. How do you know where to find that information, by the way? How would you find that? You go to the CDC site and you look up the MMR. What's the MMR? The Mortality and Morbidity Report, which tells you who's got diseases and who's died. It's free. You can go on that site instead of watching stupid movies on Friday night. You should spend your nights going on the CDC site. It's just loads of wonderful information that's out there. Anyway, I forgot where I was going to go with that. That was important. CDC, by the way, Center for Disease Control, found in Atlanta, exactly right. Well, I was going to go with that, and I just, that might it's gone. But anyway, getting back to your point, what should we do then? Should we not vaccinate people? Well, how do you find the balance? I remember where I was going to go, but they're finding now is that a lot of adults who were vaccinated, which I mentioned before, are getting whooping cough. And so we got to take a look at the vaccine again, and all these kinds of things have to be done out of this. It gets rather complex. There was an outbreak, several hundred people on the west side, Lower Price Hill last year, of pertussis, and a bunch of kids died. So what do we do? The public health department tried as best they could to get the word out to have your child vaccinated, and there were a lot of people that absolutely refused. They did not want their children vaccinated.
Don't you have to be vaccinated to get into like elementary school? Like, aren't there some required vaccinations?
You would think so, but there are loads of kids who slip through the cracks. Loads of kids who do, because the parents don't know. They'll write, yeah, we had all these vaccinations, or they'll be into town, they're just coming through, and they're showing up looking for work, and they really don't know what their child's had. They go to a local clinic, and they'll go, oh my kid had all these. And it goes down that they had them all. That's not uncommon at all. But parents simply don't know, and not because not beating them up, they don't understand. It becomes difficult for them to comprehend. Run with it.
Now, they keep talking about like herd immunity. If enough people get vaccinated, then it can kind of contain.
Like antibiotic resistance. I mean, that's different.
That's different.
But in the same like term as like what's the.
Yeah, and we can talk about herd immunity too. That what we've seen with polio in the United States. We have so many people vaccinated for polio that it typically doesn't spread anymore. We don't have outbreaks of polio. The polio cases that do show up in what kind of individuals? People who have immigrated in who were not vaccinated. So herd immunity does work. The more people get vaccinated, the less the chance of this kind of a breakout. But in that case out there, there were just loads of people who weren't vaccinated or who had vaccines that didn't seem to work. Okay, I'm missing anything there. Artificial passive. Let's develop a scenario here real quick. Okay, you've got a septic tank in your backyard. Everybody knows what a septic tank is? Okay, so you've got a septic tank because you're not close to a sewer line, and so all the feces and the sludge coming out of your toilets runs into this basin in the backyard, and you have bacteria that are fermenting this stuff and kind of eating it away, and hopefully this kind of goes out into a drainage field. But your septic tank got clogged up. And so you call the septic tank guy to come out and pump it out, and he uncovers the top one and pulls this concrete lid off, and then gets called to another appointment, which is an emergency. And so the lid's off the septic tank, and it's about a 6-foot drop down in there, and it's got probably maybe 8-foot drop, and it's got 6 feet of human sludge in it. And he forgot to put the lid back on, so he's going to come back tomorrow. And that night, your dog is running around the backyard chasing the deer, and you're trying to get the dog in because the neighbor's complaining because the dog is barking. So you're out there in your pajamas trying to get the dog in, and you slip into the septic tank and you get a mouthful. Okay? Okay? So you now have and you swallow because you're scared. And so out of concern, you go go down to University Hospital and you say, I have been exposed big time to a lot of bugs that I know are going to make me very sick. And what happens then is that in the hospital, they give you a series of gamma globulin shots. Now, we don't know what gamma globulin is yet, and we don't even know kind of what antibody is yet, because we've gotten that in the lecture yet. But we know that there is this stuff, this gamma globulin. It's some kind of a globular protein, and this was produced by some horse down in Lexington that got exposed to these same intestinal bacteria and produced these antibodies, and we believe that horse, we extract these out, and we inject those into you. And lo and behold, you don't get sick. You just have a minor kind of gastrointestinal distress, as opposed to just pooping your brains out